What's up, goober? Overpass is a giant and kind of complex map, but man, is it so fun once you learn how to play it. I'm going to show you the defaults, I'm going to show you how to play every CT position, and I'm going to show you how to approach every area of this map from a T-side perspective. But before we get into that, thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. SkinsMonkey is a trusted automated CS2 trading site. It's super easy to use. All you have to do is pick something in your inventory, check how much it's worth, and then go get something new from the monkey. What's also super nice is the filters you can use to narrow down your searches. You can either use your skins to trade for new ones or deposit money with their 30% bonus offer. This becomes 35% when you use my code Wilson. Please use it. Using my code, you can also get up to $5 for free. Use my code Wilson, link is in the description. Thank you, monkey. As with my other map guides, we're going to start with early round timings. The best T-spawn gets to short quicker than the best CT spawn. The best CT spawn for monster will catch Ts in monster tunnel. When you peek mid on CT, Ts can't be all too close, but they can cross into playground without you seeing them. The standard fountain smoke and playground molly will always beat T's timing to mid. Peeking party via that first bench actually gives you a better timing at peeking mid than peeking the stairs. Even if you're the one who throws the fountain smoke, you'll still beat T's timing to push it. If you fast peek con, T's can be scaled up quite a lot. T's always have the timing to cross to the other side of connector even if you peek it fast. If you run to top con and then shift walk, you'll be able to hear T's dropping down into con. If you push and peek long, T's can already be scaled out playground, but they have a very tight time to cross the right side. Even with the worst spawn, the standard short molly for T's will beat the best CT spawn. Let's get into defaults and we'll start with the CT side. Now, pay attention because this is something that gets confused all the time in pugs. On Overpass, you're going to play 3 players towards B and 2 players towards A by default. These 2 players on A are the A rifler and the A Awper. Now, I want to make this point very clear because this is very important. For the A rifler and the A Awper, neither of them should call or default to long or connector. Neither of these positions are default positions. These are positions that you should play and can play occasionally, but you shouldn't be going there every single round. I think this is part of why Overpass can be a tricky map to approach, is because middle is so fluid for CTs. You want to be unpredictable, and that A rifler and A Awper need to be playing off of each other pretty well in order to be successful. So your positioning, while you're going to be predominantly playing A, you're going to be challenging middle and challenging con and challenging long, but don't be predictable. Don't go play con every round. Don't go play long every round. Mix it up. Now, the rolls over towards B are a bit less fluid and a bit more straightforward. One player towards B will be the monster player. This player will mostly go through heaven because it's quicker to go through heaven to get to monster, and they're responsible for monster tunnel. Your second player is going to be the short player. They're going to be responsible for short. It doesn't mean they have to be inside of short every round, but they have to be holding this area of the map. The third player over towards B is the B rotate. This player will start most rounds by being in this general area, and they're here to help the B players play anti-rush or make any aggressive plays that they want to make. They're also going to be the first player to rotate back up towards A if needed. The default for T side is pretty straightforward. Towards B, you're just going to have one player who's going to lurk. They can go short and take that space, or they can lurk monster, whatever they want to do. Next, you're going to have a connector player. This player is going to listen for sound con and call if the CTs are playing connector, and they're going to try to take the space. And then next, we're going to have 3 mid defaulters, and one of these will be the Awper. One thing you'll see if you watch a lot of pro matches is that one of those mid defaulters, oftentimes the IGL, will come towards B early and support their B player by throwing flashes towards short to help that player take that space, or they'll double take short with them. So one of those mid players is kind of flexible in where they go. You also see the Awper go towards con quite often, and they'll hold this angle, so then the connector player can walk up with it. It's flexible, right? It's a T-side default. It's not super strict. Those are the defaults, pretty simple, pretty easy. Let's move on to how to play every CT position. For the CT positions, we'll move somewhat left to right, so we're going to start with the monster player. The monster player's first and most important responsibility is to stop rushes. And to stop rushes, you need to get to monster on a good timing, so always go through heaven, and when you drop through heaven, land on this tire so you don't take damage. Once you get around here, you can aim your molly about at this wood right here, or I guess that's metal, and then just left click run throw. Your molly's gonna land, boom, right here outside of monster, and land with plenty of time before T's can be here. After you throw that molly, if you're reading that the T's are going to rush monster, you have some options in what you can do. I like to shift walk, bounce a flash right here, and then come here, play anti, and swing with this. You can also just right click a flash here, and then play anti, swing with that. You can also play a bit safer, get towards barrels, and just jump spot early. You could even do this with a smoke early on, and then if you see Util coming over, they're flashing everything, you can just get into this corner here, aim at the bottom of this guy's mouth, right in the middle of it, left click throw, and this is going to be a really nice defensive smoke for you to play behind. From barrels, you can also throw really easy flashes just off this pillar, and these are going to bounce and pop down here, and you don't have to turn these because they're behind the barrels, and anybody down here is going to get super blinded by these. Something that's really important to be aware of as a monster player is your team throwing a deep monster smoke? The problem is that you can't be throwing the smoke, because if you do, right, this is a lineup, you just get here, aim at the bottom of this, left click jump throw. If you stop out of spawn to throw that smoke, your timing to play anti-rush, which is a huge part of your job, is going to get screwed up. So if your team isn't throwing that smoke, ask them to, and if they refuse or don't know it, then you're going to have to be aware of that and be very cautious in peeking monster right here. So one thing you can do, right, is after you throw the monster molly, and let's say you play barrels, is just if they're not rushing, is to smoke deep monster. This enables you to play some cheeky off angles back over here towards jail in this corner, or to even get close with an MP9. If you have an MP9 too, playing this wood wall can be super strong, because then you can just counter swing any T's lurking or rushing through. The smoke makes it pretty tricky for T's, because them not having the info on you being able to cross is pretty scary. In the mid round, you have to be cautious of lurks or executes, and in both of these cases, playing for info can be really strong. Back here on the back wall of barrels, you can jump spot safely like this. You can even do it silently if you shift, right? Back and forth, or you can do a little pixel angle and just jump spot up and down. And this way you can get any info if T's are walking through monster. Aside from doing this with most, anti-lurk positions, timing out peaks can be really strong, where you're just gonna sit behind barrels, wait, swing. Okay, wait, swing, right? That's always a good option. Something you really want to avoid doing in the mid round is just peeking monster tunnel on this deep angle after that monster smoke fades. You're giving a really unnecessarily good fight for the T's, a really good opportunity for them to pick you. And if they have numbers towards B and they kill you, they might just immediately go B and just take the site almost for free. Lastly, remember, as this monster player, you are an anchor, which means that you shouldn't be the first player to rotate A when something's happening A. You're typically going to be, unless you have a short player committed into short and they're going to stay here, you will typically be the last player to rotate up towards A, which also means you could be in situations where you're playing 1 versus 3 or even 1 versus 4 if your team is really spread out. For this reason, it's really important to hang on to your smoke, especially in the late round when time is ticking, you're not sure if they're going to go A, you're not sure if they're going to go B, and you feel a lot of pressure as this B player. Dropping a smoke into short is so strong, because pushing the smoke for T's is just so uncomfortable. It's so difficult. They just have to hold W through this, right? Save your smoke for as long as you can. Don't instantly re-smoke monster after that monster smoke fades, because this first smoke does the job already of making it so that T's don't know if you're left side or if you're right side, right? So once that smoke fades, you don't really need to re-smoke monster. Save your smoke, either use it defensively to buy time or drop it onto short. One thing I should mention too in the late round is if your team over-rotated towards A, let's say it's a 4v4 and you're stuck anchoring B alone, you don't necessarily have to keep playing in sight or have to push short or have to push monster. You can just play for retake, right? Play towards graffiti back here, or play on this side. And if you still have your smoke, you can even just smoke in front of you as like a lurky, let you get out from graffiti type smoke. And this can let you cross into pit back here and take these fights, or even just isolate these fights over towards towards here. Next, for CT positions, let's talk about the short player. Instead of going through heaven, the short player should go this way through graffiti, and they should default one piece of utility every single round. This is super important. As you get around this corner, you're going to left and right click, aim through this wall, and as you get out, your reference point is the tip of this building, like kind of where the sign is. Go around the corner, left and right click, and then let go of that molly as you get around the corner. This is going to molly short pipe. The reason why you want to throw this, whether you're going to push into short or whether you're not going to push into short, is because it forces the T's to use a smoke if they want to get into short. Or if they don't use a smoke, they're going to tick, tick, tick through it, and you'll get the info that, hey, the T's took short very quickly. Another piece of util that you should be defaulting, or your B rotate should be defaulting, is nading connector door. You can come out here next to the door, crouch, and then aim where this metal bar meets the concrete, left click. This is going to boom, explode open door. Or you can come around this area, aim at the top of the sandbags, and the left and right click, middle click, jump throw your HE. And this is also going to blow open door. Having con door open may seem like a disadvantage for the CTs, but I promise you it's not. There are a lot of reasons why you want this door open. Firstly, it's just free info for CTs. If you jump spot this, you can see short, and you can see deep into con and let your A players know, hey, somebody's walking through con. Remember that if you do see somebody, you can wall bang this wall and you can hit people in con for a lot of damage. The second reason why you want to nade open this door is because if you think about it from a T side perspective, early round, if a T is trying to get through con and get towards middle, now they have to deal with this super wicked crossfire in between these stairs and all of short. Even as they walk up this way, there's a bunch of headshot angles here that makes it really awkward for T's to push. So what ends up happening a lot is T's are forced to use a smoke right here in order to just push con, right? When typically they wouldn't even have to use a smoke. A third benefit is that if you boost right here with a teammate, right, then you can see deep into con from right here and just get a free kill. It's essentially a one-way for the CTs because you're going to see the T's feet before the T is able to see you at all on this boost. A fourth reason is now it's easier to rotate as CTs, and this goes for T's as well. But as CTs, if you push into short and then, oh shoot, there's 5 T's running at A, now you can push through con without making this loud squeaky sound of opening the door. And same goes for a connector player. If one of your A players is playing con, let's say they smoke con, you nade open the door, and then shoot, the T's get mid. And if this con player runs back up, they're going to take a 1v4, 1v5, right? Super uncomfortable. Now, instead of doing that, they just have safe passage here into short and can just rotate through B. And of course, if the T's are going B, now both of your mid players have the option to rotate through con without making the loud squeaky sound of opening the door. One really good HE you can use early round is by coming right here against this corner, aim at the tip of the shadow right here, and just a left click jump throw. This is going to boom, just nuke anybody who's running out short pipe early. So a util play you can make early round is you molly the short pipe, and this is really good against T's who are just taking short every single round. And then the second that you hear them extinguish that molly with a smoke, then you throw the HE and you're guaranteed some really chunky damage. Early round, you have to decide, am I going to push into short and take that space, or am I going to give it? Typically, you shouldn't be pushing short every single round. If you are, it's really easy for the T's to counter because it's so easy to just throw flashes over this left side to support a short player pushing through the short pipe and just annihilate you with those easy flashes as you swing this way. So what you can do against teams who are aggressive and just giving you those fights for free, right, is throw that molly, run up to short, get out here, right click a flash, and just swing. Once you're in short, the tricky part is being in short in the mid round is quite a gamble. As CTs, you're not going to be able to control connector for the entire round, right? An A player can't sit in con the entire round. They're gonna be kind of trolling by doing that. So if you're alone in short, you're exposed to con, you're exposed to the short pipe, and you're exposed to really easy flashes T's can throw over here. So if you do find yourself in short in the mid round and hopefully your teammate has connector control, playing this cubby position can be really strong because you just time out peaks, right? Wait, swing. Wait, swing. Or you can play an off angle over towards this direction and hold short pipe. You can play up here and hold short pipe right here. This can be really strong as well. Just do be cautious of being here for too long. It's not a great place to be in the mid round. It's a bit risky, but if you have good information, like for example, if you know all of the T's are towards mid, then playing cheeky angles like this can be super strong to hold connector. If you know there aren't any T's towards mid, nor are there any T's in con, then that allows you to focus just on short pipe, and that makes it not that bad of a place to be in short. However, if you lack information, being here is a bit spooky. Outside of being in short, there are a ton of angles that you can play that are really effective. One that I've seen pros play a ton is this angle right here. This is a super weird angle because this rock blocks a ton of your body, so it kind of creates this headshot angle. So you can play this angle, you can even time out peaks right here, like that. Playing in pit is always a classic angle for short players to play. It's really safe. The downside is that it's just a very expected angle, right? It's a very hard on angle, which means that you don't really want to be sitting here and just holding this, right? T's are going to have crosshair placement for this. They're going to be ready for it. So here you should be timing out peaks, right? Peek every once in a while, use that peeker's advantage, and you don't have to multi-kill from here because you have a lot of safe fallback area. So if you're here, you get one, they're pushing you, you can even drop a smoke into pit and just play around behind the smoke and isolate fights, right? Stay alive. Another thing that's really strong to do in the mid round is to call for your B rotate to help you push short. Short is a great place to get information. If the T's are about to execute B, they're going to execute it for the most part via short because there's just so much good utility you can throw from short. Pushing short in the mid round, if everything's quiet, maybe your man disadvantage, and you want to make a play, double up, shift walk short, and clearly space out. Real quick, a note about the boost is that there are two really good ways to boost. Number one is boosting on the left side right here. The reason for this is because you don't want to be in front of this wood wall and get wall banged. If you boost right here on the edge of the carton, if they try to wall bang the person who's boosting or your body if you're the booster, this won't do any damage. So either boost on this left side, right? And then you get visual over the wall, or boost right here. If you boost right here, then the player who gets boosted gets some cover. If I have a player right here, then I can duck behind this wall, peek, duck behind this wall, peek. So never boost in the middle, always boost on the left side or the right side. A couple other boosts you can do is one on top of this default box here. If you have con nated open, then bang, you get full visibility into con. You also get to see if anybody's up here on this railing area. You can also boost right here in front of this little wooden wall. This, as well as the last one, gives you visibility into con and also lets you see more of short right here. Here's a few off angles you can play for short if you think they're going to lurk out. One is just playing behind default right here and playing this headshot angle. Another is playing down here in pit and holding this little gap. Another thing you can do is play here behind default box, this little headshot angle here, and then if you have to fall, you can just jump down into pit. If your monster player is playing towards jail or playing close monster, then you playing around wood wall can be really strong, because then if your monster player takes contact, let's say they're jail, they take contact monster, you're in a position where instantly you can swing and either trade or just guarantee a multi-kill. As well as this, if the T's make any sound towards short, this is a great place for you to hear it, right? They're pushing up, they have to hold W towards you, and then you just swing them. As they're scaling and holding bridge or holding this pit, you hit a really good timing and another chance for you to get a multi-kill. So all in all, this section was a bit disorganized, but part of it is just the position. There's so many options in how to play it. You're not going to be playing this position the same way every single round because you want to be unpredictable. Be aggressive some rounds, show that you're not scared to take the fights short, default that molly into short pipe, make the T's wonder constantly, are you going to fight short this round? Are you going to play sight? Are you going to double up with your monster player? Mix in aggression, mix in passiveness. That's just part of the position. So you get a lot of options in how you want to play it. It's pretty good for a aggressive rifler. It's pretty good for somebody who really likes to think about what they're going to do in every single round. The last B player we're going to talk about is the B rotate. This player has a responsibility that starts in spawn, and that is to smoke monster. You're going to come out of spawn, get into this corner with the bin, aim at the bottom of this little thing here on the electric wire, and then just left click jump throw. You want to be throwing this pretty much every single round that you can afford to smoke. It's that important. After throwing the monster smoke, similar to the short player, you want to be going through graffiti rather than through heaven to B. The reason for this is, for the most part, you're going to be helping your short player early and not your monster player early. If you really think that the T's are going to rush monster, you can come heaven and you can throw a flash for your monster player by aiming just at that tip of the arrow right there. This flash is going to pop right here and blind all the T's running through the pipe. But for the most part, you do want to start your rounds here in graffiti. If your short player isn't nading Condor, then you should nade Condor. And I'll show it again. You come here, you crouch, you aim right there, and you left click, or you come right here and you left and right click jump throw just at the top of those sandbags, and boom, nade Condor open. As this player, you can make a lot of plays with your short player that we talked about in the short player section, right? Where early on you can boost on this left side or boost on this right side. Go back to the short player section if you missed that. You can aggro short with your teammate early on if you want to help them. You can also flash behind them by throwing flashes like this. These flashes will obliterate T's as they run out short pipe, and they won't blind your teammates who are swinging right here. What you can also do to support a short player who's fighting into short is throwing that nade that I showed you earlier. Just left click right here at the tip of that shadow. Right when the T's extinguish the short player's molly, you throw that nade, boom, they take a ton of damage, they're slowed, and the short player is swinging. Easy kills for your short player. Something else you can do is that if the T's have been taking short fast very frequently, if you stand just outside the sandbag and then aim to the left of the sign right here, you can spam short and do a bunch of damage to T's who are swinging out this way. If your monster player wants to peek deep monster, you can come right here onto this corner and then aim in between these two railings, left click jump throw. This is going to pop in front of monster and blind anybody who's back here holding this kind of angle. So as this rotate player, you don't really want to come into the round and get here and just not know what to do. Watch your short player, see if they're mauling tunnel, see if they're nading Condor. If they're not, then you should do it. Right? This is from a pug, frame of mind. If your teammates are unpredictable or unreliable, then you should throw that default util for them. And then make sure that you're having impact by doing something early. If they're not rushing monster, your monster player says nothing, it's all good. Then if your short player isn't doing it, then you should jump spot short and con and see if anybody is taking this space, right? That's just really good info to get. One super important aspect of this role is knowing when to rotate and how to rotate. One simple but important thing to keep in mind is that if you run right here and there are T's in short, they're going to hear that very clearly and know you just ran away from B. So if you do think it's A, but it's possible that T's are in short or there's just a single lurker there, you want to shift walk this way and make sure that you're about to these stairs or around here to start running. Otherwise, you're giving up really free info to the T's. Let's say you rotate up towards A, but there are already T's on site. If you get up to the top of the stairs right here and aim at this point in the dumpster, there's this little gray thing, and just left click with a molly and left click with a nade, you can absolutely nuke somebody who's planting on default. In terms of the timing of this rotate, if your teammate at the beginning of the round peeks fountain and dies, that's not an immediate crisis that you have to run up to A to fix, right? This player could just peek this with an op, die to another opper there who's fully alone, and there could be 4 players over towards B ready to just rush through short or just throw an exec. So don't panic, right? At the beginning of rounds, Overpass, there's so much space, it takes so long for them to get all the way up here and get into sight. Now, if both of your A players insta die, then yes, that is kind of a crisis and you should try to get to A pretty quickly. Once you're on A, you can play for info by just jump spotting dice. You can come back here towards truck and just jump spot this for long, and then come back here dice and jump spot right. Just play for info, especially if your teammates are staying 2 towards B and you're solo A. That's about it. This one was really short because a lot of the plays you're going to make as this rotator are really similar to the plays that you can make as that short player. So if you skipped past that section, go rewatch the short player section because a lot of it is incredibly relevant to this position. So that's the B site. You have your monster player, short player, B rotate. Now you should have a good general idea of how B works. So let's move on to A. As I mentioned in the default section, there are two players who play A. One is the Awper and the other is an A rifler. We're going to talk about the Awper first because the Op on Overpass can have so much impact. It's a huge map with a bunch of long-range angles, which is just perfect for an Op. Out of spawn, a very important util set for the Awper to know is the fountain util. You're going to get out of spawn, run this way, pull a smoke out, and then you're going to aim at the top of this little chimney or pipe, whatever that is, at the top of it, and you're going to run along this shadow. It's pretty loose. You don't have to be super specific, but you're going to aim at that while you're running, left and right click jump throw. This is going to bounce, and then land right here and smoke off fountain for you. After you throw the smoke, you're going to follow this line right here, kind of this line. You see the second step? You're going to go from the second step over to this line right here, this dark line. Second step over to the line, you're going to hold left click with your molly, and then as you pass this part of divider, you're going to jump left click throw. So it goes like this. You're going to run, jump left click throw, and then this is your playground molly. If T's want to push this molly, they're going to take a decent amount of damage. Not a ton, but enough for your A rifler, or if you have a rifle, to one-tap headshot them with your M4s, which is a huge advantage for you guys. And if they don't want to run through it, then they're forced to use a smoke. So if you learn this util, it's super strong, and something you should do kind of early on in the game to condition the T's into being scared of you is throw this util, right? Throw the smoke, throw the molly, come this way, left and right click a flash high into the sky right there above the hedge, bang, and then swing with this. What a lot of T's will do early on is just push the smoke and not respect it, so making a flash play, bang, peeking it, free kills, right? So condition them into fearing that smoke and respecting it. Another really cheeky piece of util, and maybe one of my favorite pieces of util in the entire game, is if you run through bathroom, pull an HE out, jump on top of this bench, and then it's a little tricky. You're gonna have to run along it and then strafe this way. HE out, unpin it, run along it, strafe this way. After you strafe, you're gonna aim about at the top right of this bush, and you're gonna let go while you're in air. So you're gonna go, jump, and then let go. And this nade is going to absolutely obliterate anybody who's sitting back here. But if your teammate is throwing the mid util for you, right, they smoke this, they molly that, the T's could just be stuck in between them, and that nade will do a ton of damage. If you're not throwing the mid util set, then you should be smoking off stairs. The easiest way to smoke stairs from bath is just like that, aim to the right of this trash bin. An important note about the smoke is that you want it to land down here. You don't want it to land up on the stairs. That bounced a little high. You don't want to land up on the stairs. The reason for this is that if it lands higher on the stairs, it smokes off party. And so if you want to peek party, you don't get any visibility. And from a T-side perspective, the smoke is like kind of comforting because now I know, hey, I'm not going to die at a party. I can just scale this way and not worry about an Awper or a rifler or a scout. So make sure that that smoke lands at the bottom of the stairs. Easiest way to do that, run through it at the right side of the bin, and it's going to land, boom, right there. Perfect. You can peek above that, get a kill, fall off. There are really three big kind of like aggressive pick plays for the op towards mid. One is just the stairs peek. Keep in mind when you make this peek, good T-spawns can already be crossed to playground, so you don't want to just post up here and assume you're not going to die to somebody who goes through playground. The second one is just peeking high. Your timing for this is quite good. If your movement's nice on the bench, jump up on the bench, peek up here, get a pick, fall. And the third one is peeking con. Now, one risk to peeking con is that if you run down con and a T is running down con as well from their side, it's equal info. You can both hear each other. So as an Awper, if you shift here, you risk the T coming down and then shifting this way. And then this fight is a bit more awkward for you because instead of it's this angle or this angle, now they can be scaled up this way, and you have to clear much more space. The peek is a bit awkward. So I generally like to run down and just peek, and hopefully they're holding it and trying to take the fight, assuming that I'm a rifler and not an Awper, and I can just 1v1 them on this angle. But in general, I would say con is a place you want to avoid as an Awper. This is better if you're a rifler. The reason for that is that if you get stuck in con in the mid round, or if there are multiple people rushing you in con, super tricky position to be in as an Awper. You don't want to be here in a situation where they could come from up here, they could come from bottom con, you're going to get split, you're going to maximum get one and then die. Another cheeky play you can make that I saw both Lurk and G make in Cologne is standing on top of this water fountain and then holding an off angle for mid right here. The best way is actually to come to this side of the water fountain and then jump on it right here. And then that way you get maximum visibility. From here, it's just a super weird off angle for T's to clear, right? If they're peeking this, they're going to pre-aim down here and then bang, your head is way up here. Easy shot for you, right? Get the pick and then fall off. Something for both the Awper and rifler is that you just do not want to be predictable. If you buy an op and you come here divider and you play this angle every single round, if you're playing against half decent people, you should be punished for it. Don't be predictable, be unpredictable, mix it up, make different plays. And with that, you should be trying to call setups or at least be very aware of what your rifler is doing. If you guys are mentally just on different planets, right? You guys aren't calming, you aren't playing together, you're not aware of what they're doing, you're going to lose mid. It's super hard to hold mid as two individuals. It's really easy to hold mid as two teammates. That was corny, but you get my point. So some setups you can run, I call this inside outside bath, is have either you or your rifler hold this off angle right here for inside bath, and then have the other player either play down here, right? You can hold this if you have con info. If you're a bit more worried about con, you can hold this, and on this angle you can actually see people leave con, or you can even come back here, close off that angle, and just isolate this angle for yourself. You could even play the same setup but just kind of deeper, where one player plays flowers and holds inside bath right here, the other player can be up here at this angle and timing out peaks this way, and then if this player, typically the rifler, if they spot somebody, then this flowers player can just throw a flash for them right here, bang, and then this player will swing and get a million kills. You can do the same setup even just from dice. As an Awper, you hold front bath, your other player is right there, and then you just flash over this building, bang, they swing divider, get a billion kills that time. Those are just two examples. Another one is the long setup where you have your Awper. As an Awper, it's really good to jump up here and play this angle. That way you're not just playing the expected on angle right here, right? Hold long, and then your teammate can play inside bath and hold this angle where they have a huge shadow advantage for anyone crossing mid. And in this setup, you're not giving up anything, right? You have info on long, and this player in front bath has info on if anybody crosses towards mid. So there's no timings being given up. And then if you need to leave and get out, right, this rifler can come here and just throw a smoke like this if they're worried about somebody being long, and then just escape like that, and then you both go back site. So that's a super strong setup as well. I'm not going to go over all of them, every two-man setup you can do, but the point is be creative, talk to your teammate. If you're in a duo playing mid on Overpass, so strong, right? You guys are in Discord, have a setup every round, be calming. Make sure there's some purpose behind the setups that you're doing in mid with your teammate. Now, I need to mention part of why Overpass is such a good map for opping is that it's maybe the best map in the pool for take a shot, fall back, take a shot, fall back, take a shot, fall back style of opping, right? Think of device. You can hold this angle mid, take a shot, fall back, and then you can come here, hold this off angle for party, take a shot, fall back, and then come here and hold bath like this, take a shot, fall back. You can even fall from there and then come here, take a shot, fall back, and then get back to site. You can even play this angle, take a shot, fall back, come back to truck, or go back towards dice. I think dice is a great place to be as an Awper, right? You can peek right side, you can peek left side, you can come back and peek long, you can jump spot. Dice is super powerful on play dice a lot. But okay, I got a bit distracted from the point, and that is Overpass, take a shot, fall back, take a shot, fall back. It's so strong on this map. Two high risk, high reward positions I want to mention is playing front bath with the op, right? You get a kill here, you jiggle this, and then you get a kill here, you come back, right? That allows you to be in their face, fight them, but you also have some cover you can use to bounce between angles. The second one is playing towards map. Map allows you to peek long, bang, you get a kill, and then you peek divider, you can peek front bath, right? Both of these are pretty committal. You are relying on yourself to get a multi-kill, but they can be somewhat unexpected and super strong if you're hitting your shots. As the Awper, same with every single other map in the pool, you're not restricted to only playing that one position. You can be fluid and go for picks elsewhere. So over towards B, you can come towards short and take this angle and just hold for a short swing, bang, get that kill. They're probably not expecting an op there. Or if you know that the T economy isn't great and they can't afford an op, you can come peek monster and take this fight. I wouldn't recommend taking this fight without a flash from your teammate. If the T's can have an op, it's just not super worth it. But if they don't, great fight for you to take if somebody's just holding this with an AK. Let's talk about the late round when you're on site, you're jump spotting for info. What can you do? What util can you throw? Well, one really great piece of util I saw G throw in his match on Overpass with Tai Lu is he came here into this like little corner with the door, crouched, and then you see this dash that has the orange mark next to it. You just aim at that while you're crouched, hold left click, uncrouch, and then throw your smoke. This is going to land right on divider and really slow down T's A takes or A executes. If you want to smoke front bath safely, wherever you are behind dice, if you just aim at where this wooden panel, right, this vertical one meets this wood bit, you just aim right there and left click throw. This is going to land inside a front bath. Boom, super easy. You don't have to peek it to throw the smoke. If in the late round you still have your molly or your HE, you can whip them out, look at this umbrella here, and just take a shift walk step with it. And this is going to molly off this little choke point here, making your life a little bit easier and delaying T's who are coming through banana. Lastly, for defensive util towards A, if you still have your smoke, you can just run through it against this bit of the building here. And this is a really nice defensive smoke for you that if the T's want to take A, they have to push this, right? This is pretty awkward for them to take. However, you don't want to throw this just on a whim. If you see one T while you're jump spotting, don't throw this unless you're really confident they're going to execute, because if you do, it just denies info fully for you, and then the T's can just execute behind it as it's fading, and then, right, you don't have any warning. So make sure that you do know the T's are coming and then throw that smoke. Let's move on to talking about the A Awper's partner in crime, the A Rifler. I've said it a couple times already, but I'm going to reiterate it. Connector is not a position, and neither is long. If you are an A Rifler and you play connector every single round, number one, super predictable, and number two, you are forcing your teammate on A to be accountable for everything else, right? There is so much space in mid, and if you play con every single round, then how is that one other player supposed to contain all this space? They can't. They have to play super passive. And so if they play super passive and you're in con every round, don't be shocked if you get pinched by mid and pinched by con and die over and over again. You can't be mad about it because, hey, how is your teammate supposed to control mid fully alone every single round? It's impossible. So be flexible and be unpredictable, and try to have a good rapport with your A Awper. A lot of your positioning as this A Rifler will somewhat depend on what your A Awper wants to do. If your Awper on A is really passive and playing in a really safe way, then you can play more so for yourself, right? You don't need to support them all too much. If they start every round on divider, they take a shot and then they just fall back to sight, they don't really need your help. You don't need to really coordinate a strong setup. However, if they're a bit riskier and they're trying to go for picks and get into trickier situations, right? Like if they want to play outside divider and hold this, then you being inside bath and holding the smoke push right here, right? Given that steps is smoked, you being inside bath holding this can be really strong and help you support the A Awper. Along with this, if they take a shot at party, then it allows you to swing party with that info that somebody's there. Early round, for the most part, one of you should be throwing the mid util set. I show it in more detail in the opping section. If you want to see exactly how to throw it, go back there. But having this util set down almost every round is just so strong. It's such a good set. So as a rifler, if you throw that set, you come up similar to the op play, left and right click a flash over this bush and then swing. If they push the smoke, free kills, right? You could go crazy. And with that too, I want you to be really creative as this A Rifler. For example, if your Awper throws that util set, then you pushing long and taking this fight towards party can be really good, because either the T's are going to smoke the molly, giving you info that they're in playground. Sorry, I called it party before playground. You get the info that they're in playground, or they don't smoke it and they take the damage from the molly, which allows you to one-tap headshot them with your M4. If your Awper, for example, is peeking steps right here, then what you can do is peek above them and then bang, now you guys are in a high-low and you're getting info early, getting kills, and it's harder to double kill the both of you since you aren't just like standing right next to each other. As the rifler, I would typically avoid these fights here in front bath. These fights just aren't very good for you. T's can swing, they dictate the timing, and this is an angle they should be ready for. Instead, if you're going to play here towards long bath, play towards this angle, or swing off your Awper's contact, right? If your Awper is here and they're holding steps and then bang, they take a shot, maybe they miss, then that's a really good time for you to bang, swing, and just kill that player who's looking this way, focused on the Awper who might be repeaking. Long bath is typically a really good place to be as a rifler on A. Just hold a smoke, because if you need to escape and you don't have a smoke, you're going to have to swing long and there's just a million off angles to clear here. But if you have a smoke, you can just drop it in front of you, right? And then this gives you cover to get out of long and go back towards sight. Something you'll see a lot of A riflers do in the pro scene is that they'll come connector early, but they won't stay there. Getting into con early and shifting here is really strong because then bang, you get the sound of if a T is dropping down here, right? You can hear it from up here on the stairs. And what you can do is that if you hear that sound, you can drop a smoke or drop a molly, whatever you want to do, and then just leave con. That way you apply pressure con. These connector players are convinced that somebody's behind the smoke, super spooky, and then you can come back here and support your Awper, just reposition, get to somewhere else. We're following that theme of be unpredictable. Another really sick play you can make with your teammate towards con is if you boost right here, the booster will get full vision of the short pipe. They get this angle. And so if you're not too worried about con, right, you can smoke it off. It doesn't feel like they're rushing and the T's are super heavy towards B. You can make this play, boost here, and then kill the T's walking through short pipe. The risk of this is that if the T's die to it, then they know immediately 2 players are in connector, and this could allow for the mid players to really speed up. So it's a bit of a gamble, right? You might get stuck in con, but if you're playing 3 towards A, right, you can have your Awper post and divider and play somewhat passive, play for a pick and then fall off. And then you two can boost, make this play. After you get a kill, you guys can just swing short and just full take it. And then bang, now you're 4B, your B rotate can rotate back up, and then you get back into a 2A, 3B setup. Similar with the Awper, because middle is so huge, there's so much space in between like playground, T-steps, and A site. This is a space where you can take an early fight and then fall back, take another fight, fall back, right? You don't have to commit yourself into holding just this space. I think a lot of players play Overpass and treat this space as if it's a bomb site. It's not, it's just space. Play the space for info and play it to get kills if you feel confident that you can get kills here, and then use this space too. Right here, if you have seen Donk play Overpass, you've probably seen that highlight of him hitting that 4K spray down right here, but he loves to play this area in front of front bath. And that's because you can swing here, right? You can swing here, and it's super easy for anybody on site to just flash divider for you to peek this. There are so many angles for you to use and so many ways that you can play the space that I can't even cover it all in this long ass video. So experiment, take risks, limit test a little bit, get silly with it, because middle on Overpass is like one of the most interesting and fluid, unpredictable. It's just such a cool space. This is why I love Overpasses, purely for how middle's designed. So be creative, right? Don't put yourself into a box and do the same thing every round. Once you do find yourself backed up towards sight, avoid playing dumpster, right? This is somewhere that a rotate can come up and play. If you're dumpster, you're gonna get smoked off or util dumped. And if you do, right, if you are dumpster and you see the smoke coming, get out onto site. A is a pretty tricky site to retake, especially if they can get up into here, into this corner, and close bank, right? Pushing out this way, if they can be close, almost impossible. So you want to try to maintain some backside space. One thing you can do from truck specifically is if you flash right here, this is going to land just right in front of the truck and be super difficult for T's to avoid if they're trying to fight you, right? They have to turn it, and it's a flash that you can swing with and not get blinded by. In terms of playing long with a rifle, you typically want to avoid this fight. It's just not a great fight for you, right? If multiple T's are swinging this, it's just a hard on angle. This is a good fight for an Awper, not so much for a rifler. One play you can make, especially on ecos or if you have an MP9, is playing around the rock. Right here, it's actually a really interesting and good piece of cover, and if you hide behind it and just hold an angle like this, T's are pretty much never going to clear this, right? They swing this way, and they're worried about half wall, they're worried about somebody up here, or they're worried about front bath, and then bang, you're on an off angle right here behind the rock, could be a free kill. I saw Complexity do a 2-man setup here on a force buy, where they had, I think it was Grim, who was on top of the rock, and then I forget who was down here. But they had somebody right here and then somebody below them, and they were just jiggling like this in this like high-low setup. It was really cool. That could be a play you can make with your teammate on ecos or force buys. At the end of the day, with this A rifler and A Awper, there aren't super strict, like you do this every single round, right? It's not straightforward. They're complex and really interesting positions. So with these kind of positions, you really need to try things out. You need to test things and feel it out because there's so many options. There's so many situations you could find yourself in middle. You need the experience. I always hate that advice of like, just play more. But with these two, I hope I've given you plenty of ideas and a good baseline for where to go from. However, you need to be creative and you need to be dynamic. Last little thing, if you don't use your microphone, don't play middle. Please, if you don't use your mic, don't play middle. This is a position where you and your other mid player need to be calming. It's like playing B on Inferno with somebody who doesn't use their microphone. It's impossible to get stuff going. It's really hard to play like that. So be teammates, okay? There are the CT positions. Now let's talk about T side. And for T side, I'm not so much going to go through every defaulter, but rather just go through space by space. How do you want to approach it? And how can you get kills and make plays within those spaces? The first space we're going to talk about from a T side perspective is short. For short, the one piece of util you absolutely need to know is how to molly it off. When you're running out from spawn, you're going to pull molly out, you're going to left and right click, and you're going to run along this shadow. I imagine I'm like creating a triangle in it with my pathing, and you're going to aim at the bottom right of the B. Right as you pass the shadow, you're going to left and right click jump throw. This will molly off short and prevent CTs from aggressing. You can have a lot of impact on Overpass by punishing CTs for not throwing good early round utility. If the CTs aren't mollying short tunnel and you know this molly for short, that means that you just get short for free every round. You just have to hold the boost or be ready to fight this if the CTs smoked the molly. So make use of the fact that the CTs aren't punishing you for taking short early and just take the space. If the CTs are going to give it to you for free, take it for free. Now, if the CTs are mollying short, then you have some options. Number one, you can wait the molly out. Your T molly lasts longer than their CT molly, and you're also closer to the space. So if they don't smoke your T molly, then you have a timing advantage of getting out short. However, if they smoke your molly and you want to go, then you should smoke their molly and run out through the back edge of the smoke. One thing you can do if the CTs are throwing the short pipe molly is also throw your smoke ahead of time, and then that way you give yourself time to smoke and then immediately right click a flash out this way and then swing with that. If the CTs are being really aggressive short, right, they're two-man swinging it every round, then either you or a teammate can throw flashes over short to support somebody swinging out from short tunnel, right? We talked about this on CT side. You don't even really need a lineup for these. They're just super simple. You just throw them over the left side of this and then bang, any CTs swinging this way will be forced to just eat these flashes as they fight. Aggressive CTs use the fact that you can throw super easy flashes to just counter them. When you do swing short, you also have to worry about boost and you have to worry about the swing, right? Which is part of why throwing this molly is so important. If you don't throw the molly, you have to worry about both. However, if you throw that molly and then you hear that they smoked the molly, it's much more likely that this fight is going to happen right here. If you throw the molly and they don't smoke it, then you can prioritize clearing the boost right here. One really cheeky play you can make at the beginning of the round if you're playing with a friend is by both of you throwing this 1 HE that's going to obliterate anybody pushing short. All you're going to do is just get around this corner, aim at about the top of this wooden stack, and then right click jump throw your nade. Boom, anybody going short, if you and a teammate do that, they get double naded, they're down to, 5 HP, or you might just kill them with it, and it's a great way to start the round. Once you get into short, really the best place to be in the mid round is in this cubby. From here, you can't be spotted by this boost, you can't be spotted by this boost. Sure, you could be wallbanged from some angles right here. However, if they do that, you can crouch under it and then wallbang them back. But this is the best spot to be because I could crouch here and hold short, not be exposed to con if that's a worry. I can also just time out peaks right here to spot anybody who's re-aggroing. The reason why short is so important for T's to take is because this is the best place to execute B from. You can throw a bunch of really good utility from short to exec B. And that util can all be thrown from one spot next to the sign. To throw a heaven smoke, all you're gonna do is just get jammed in here, aim at this first railing where it meets the ground, and left click jump throw. This is gonna land nicely right in heaven, and bang, you don't have to worry about it anymore. After throwing that smoke, you can pull out your molly and just aim at this first dot right here, and then left click jump throw. This is going to be a very nice toxic molly for you and flush out any CT playing that position. Next, using your two flashes, you can throw one. There's this pane right here. I call it a pane. It's probably not the right word, but you can aim at the bottom of that and left click throw. left click jump throw, and then you can aim at this corner of the bridge right here and just left click throw. Both of these flashes are going to not blind your players pushing short. This other one is going to pop behind the pillar, so then these short players also will not get blind as they scale. So this one is great for anybody playing here in Monster, right? It pops right there. And this other one is great at blinding this angle, which is going to be super common, right? You really have to worry about somebody playing here in pit. In terms of lurking up short and looking for a pick isn't the worst of ideas. However, there are just a lot of angles you have to clear, especially once you peek into here, right, in pit. The reason for that is now you're exposed to toxic. You're still exposed to somebody timing out peaks on wood wall. You could definitely look for fights this way. However, it is a risk, right? There's just a lot of angles, and if the CT is timing out peaks every once in a while, they'll probably catch you looking at not where they are. For Monster, if the CTs aren't smoking it consistently, you can really exploit that by just taking this fight. As long as they're not constantly peeking this with an op, and if they are, then your Awper should come here and hold this angle. If they're just rifling and you have an AK, this is such a good opportunity for you to get a pick and play a 5v4 at the start of the round. It's great. In Pugs, Monster's also just a great place to lurk. CTs, especially Monster players, can often be pretty lazy or rotate at bad timings and just not expect somebody to just walk out Monster and duel them. So every once in a while, right, as this B lurk, take a risk and just walk out Monster, especially if they're not smoking it and you know that nobody could be on the right side. That way these fights are just way simpler for you and you can look for a pick here. A piece of util you can use to add a lot of pressure to the B players is just smoking there at the corner. This is the Monster lurk smoke, and from the CT perspective, this gets really spooky, right? Even if they have Monster tunnel smoked, now that's their smoke is essentially nullified, and they have to worry about all these angles, and they also have to worry about you guys flashing over and popping through the smoke. Let's real quick talk about how to rush Monster. If you have the 4th or 5th spawn, you should be throwing util. And a util set you can throw really easily is by getting into this corner, aiming above this line right here to this point, left click throw, that's a center sight smoke. After that, you're going to get your molly out. You're going to do a left and right click running jump throw, aiming at like this little triangle right here. So you're going to go down the stairs, aim at that triangle, left and right click jump throw, and this is a great molly for toxic. You can follow that up with flashes either over the right side of Monster. I just crouch and then do a little W walk throw, or if you aim over in this direction, right about where this light pole is, and just hold W run throw. These are flashes that are going to pop behind the pillar, so when your teammates are swinging this way, bang, they're going to pop behind the pillar and blind anybody playing pit right here, or sight, or bridge, or graffiti, right? All of these positions back here in backside are going to get blinded by those. If you're trying to pop through Monster in the mid round, right, a really good flashbang set you can throw is you get into this corner, you aim at the left eye, and then you just left click throw. This is a great flash for if you think the CTs could be playing jail, right, or they could be playing close, and then you're going to follow it up with aiming at this silly little guy right here at the bottom of his chin, and then W jump throw. This flash is going to pop above right here, and anybody playing barrels or toxic or pillar, they're going to get super blinded by this flash. Now let's talk about connector. Connector is a place where you can get a lot of kills and take a very important part of the map. However, if you play it wrong, you could just be giving CTs pretty free kills. Let's start with the drop down. When you want to go fast connector, all you're going to do is run at this circular thing, and then once you reach it, you're going to jump, press S, and then land on this and slide down. That's the fastest way to get into con, and you don't take any fall damage because you slide down on this thing. It can also sometimes be advantageous for you to go down con silently, because how we talked about on CT side, if there's a CT player who's walking towards stairs, they can hear you land if you do it the fast way. So if you want to withhold that information, right, shift walk, tap WD, 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 get down, and then play this angle. Once you're down in con, you have to listen for if any CTs are making sound. If there's a CT sprinting down into con and they could afford an op, you definitely do not want to be sitting on this angle. This is just a free kill for a CT. However, if you go down fast and loud and you hear the CT going down fast and loud, you have the timing to cross to this way. Once you're here, this makes the situation way more difficult for a CT peeking this angle, because if they want to hold you here, they have to expose themselves to this angle, and they don't know whether it's 1 or 2 players in connector. Something else you can do if you want to scale up con somewhat quickly is you drop and immediately throw a molly here, cross to this side, and then swing off this molly, and then follow it up and then start clearing con behind it. This molly is so strong because as a CT, if this comes out, shoot, I can't really do anything aggressive here unless I smoke it and swing through the smoke, but that play just doesn't feel good. Really strong molly to prevent CTs from aggressing, and you avoid taking fights in this area, which is where you really don't want to take fights, right? This zone, you have to hold W and scale up, while CTs can just swing this horizontally. It's really disadvantageous for you. One thing to note is that if the CTs are H-ing door, then you will likely have to expend a smoke right there in order to scale through con and take this space. Otherwise, you have to deal with this crossfire, which is just super uncomfortable. Once you get up to this zone and you still have your molly, you can pull it out and then aim super high up here in between this and this stone, and then just hold W and left click throw. This molly is so strong because now you don't have to worry about these angles up here. It also spreads down into this cubby and it'll make a tick sound. So you can clear this, make sure nobody's holding this, and then scale up behind this molly, make sure nobody's in the corner. And then that way you are able to isolate fights significantly easier. Something important to keep in mind with con is that you don't need to rush speed through it. If you're alone and you're rifling, you can clear these angles one by one and be really meticulous with it. You want to prioritize the fact that you have an AK and that you get to be the peeker in this situation. You don't want to lazily clear everything without a good reason behind having that pace, right? If you have somebody with you ready to trade, then sure, right, go fast and just clear everything out, because if you die, you're probably just going to get traded. However, when you're alone, prioritize your life and prioritize giving good peeks. If you notice that the CTs are really lax on con, they're not playing con really ever, then switching up your pace and going really fast con, getting up and then just trying to kill them if they're aggressing party or middle or catching them in transition back to divider, that can be really effective as well. However, if the CTs are playing connector a lot, then you should allow your team to work middle to the point where they can hold con from here. This is the weakness of staying in con for a long time as a CT, is because they leave only one other CT player to hold mid, and if your teammates smoke front bath, let's say they molly divider too, then the CT player is going to feel a lot of pressure because they're sandwiched in between you here and your teammates here. And when they feel that pressure, that's the best time to start scaling or predict that they're going to force the fight into you. So if you know CTs are being predictable or playing connector a lot, then let your team take some space mid and then use that pressure to your advantage. Next, let's talk about how to take middle and how to take bathrooms. How you take middle is going to highly depend on what the CTs are throwing at you, what kind of looks they're giving you. If they're smoking this and mauling this consistently, then you're going to take middle at a different pace and in a different way than if they're not throwing anything mid. Let's say that they're not throwing the standard mid utility, right? Instead, they're either leaving middle open or they're throwing a step smoke that they can peek above of. When CTs are giving you this look, be mindful of where the smoke lands, right? How we talked about on CT side, often CTs will screw the smoke up, let it land like way up here, and then this just lets you scale out mid essentially for free, right? You do have to worry about somebody jumping up party, and on your way to party, if you're scaling this way, you can nade it, you can flash it, you can molly it if you want, whatever you want to do, but it is an isolated fight for you because the smoke doesn't threaten the fact that anybody can peek above it. However, if they're throwing the good one that's down here, then you do have to be very cautious of somebody peeking. And one flash I saw from it was Jam Young on Tyloo is that instead of throwing flashes this way, right, these flashes often will land behind Awper's peeking or Rifler's peeking. Instead of throwing that, throw it against this wall here. That way it'll bounce and land right in front of Fountain, and anybody peeking here or anybody peeking back up this way is going to get full blinded by this. That flash, I'm sure there's a clip I have of it, just obliterated Zurk when he was trying to peek middle. So typically, if you have the best spawn towards mid, then you should be going towards playground. So what you can do is come up, throw this flash, and then immediately scale out towards playground and get to this position. From here, you can hold any long aggression or you can hold any party aggression, and then once you're feeling comfortable, you can start scaling up. Be cautious if the CTs could be in party party, you want to peek these angles with purpose, right? One thing that you don't see in the pro scene much, but you see in pugs is people playing behind these tables. It's kind of a one and done angle, and if you're ready for it, you'll just destroy them. But an angle you need to be more ready for is this one. This one's really tricky to clear as a T because these signs essentially give the CT a one-way where they can see your feet before you can see them at all. So when you peek this angle, either jiggle it and bait it with your feet or wide swing it. You don't want to peek this slowly or else you give a really big advantage to the CT holding this angle. If you don't have the best spawn and somebody already went towards playground, then you should be responsible for holding mid. So observe them, see if they threw any util towards mid. If they didn't, then you can throw that flash yourself, or you can come up and just immediately HE the peak right here. When you're playing this stairs position, make sure to make use of the headshot angles it provides you, right? If I'm worried about somebody peeking party, then I can hold them from down here. And if it's an Awper, this shot is significantly more difficult for them to hit than if I'm up here. And if I'm worried about somebody peeking lower, I can hold right here, play under these stairs, use crouch, right? Don't be static holding these angles with a bunch of your body showing. Make use of the headshot angle with your AK. If the CTs are throwing this smoke and they're throwing the molly in playground, then as this first person, it's really best to just smoke this molly and go. You can tank the damage, but it puts you at a huge disadvantage. The CTs, even if you smoke it or even if you don't, they're still assume that people could be in playground, right? So the info you give by smoking it isn't the end of the world. What does suck is having to use a smoke, but think of it as like you're using a smoke in exchange for not getting one tapped by an M4. That's a pretty decent trade in my mind. When CTs are throwing the smoke early on, I would recommend that you respect it. Just kind of wait it out, see if they're going to push behind it, and then retake mid after it's gone. The reason for that is that if you do push it, like we talked about on CT side, you're going to get obliterated by flashbangs over this bush and give over free kills. However, if they're throwing it and they're constantly not using it, then that's time where, okay, you can start disrespecting it. Along with this, nading the smoke can be really strong too, because if the CTs are really aggressive, they're going to push behind it and get over towards fountain or push this way, and if you nade it, you're just going to catch them in the middle of mid and just get a free kill. In terms of scaling mid, it's not too much of a concern unless you're doing it right off the rip. You're just running up, right? Then you have to worry about flashes over this bush. But CT's delaying these flashes is quite risky because it gives the timing for you to get up and play anti, or it gives more timing for T's to push through con. So be cautious of pushing immediately, right, fast. And if you are, you should be hugging this right side and be very aware of any flashes that are going to pop above, and then you turn them and you kill the CTs. From here, you can throw an emergency front bath smoke. It's never really perfect, but if you aim above this trash bin, you can throw a smoke into bath. It can be quite lurky like that, so getting out this way and trying to throw it as far as you can is ideal. It's a good way to smoke front bath if nobody else did it and you find yourself in this area. You can also smoke front bath safely from this corner at stairs. You're just going to aim where this E-box meets the wall, just a little to the right, and then left click jump throw. This is going to land nice and tucked in front bath. And then once you scale up this way, you get to the right of the fountain, and you just aim at the E-box down to the middle of the right side and left click jump throw. This is a divider molly. These two pieces of util are kind of the standard we're taking mid util. It's really hard to fight around them for the CTs. Either they commit in front of this molly and then get owned by flashbangs, or they have to back up and re-aggro after the molly if they do want to fight it. When you're in party, unless you're an absolute god, if the CTs have an op, avoid taking this fight. Right? It's just too good of an angle for an Awper. If front bath isn't smoked and you're in party and you still have your smoke, just crouch here. You're not exposed to anything. Crouch in the back and then just hold W a little bit and left click your smoke. That's a really easy way to just smoke front bath on the fly. And then you can left and right click a flash over here, or just left click it and then bang, you swing off that and you kill the Awper who's rotated over here. Once you're scaled out into party, if you're worried about somebody being in con, then playing behind these tables can be really strong angles. If you tuck behind a table, the con player can't see you here at all. You're fully hidden. But if you stand up, boom, could be a free kill. One thing I'll mention is that if you take middle and you know that the other A player either backed up to site or you killed them, and you know there's a player in connector, make use of that fact, right? Either pinch them with your con player or just camp them. If they can't get out through middle and they can't get out through con, they're forced into fighting you and you guys expect the fight. This should be just a free kill. Whenever you're scaling mid and you want to peek divider or peek this, just flash it. It's such an easy area of the map to flash flash, right? Let's say you have front bass smoked, you're scaled out party, you drop down here and you want to take that space, just flash over there, bang, and then swing. That way an Awper who's posted on this type of angle, right, you're just going to force them off the angle, they're going to have to back up and you can take that space. It's not really worth peeking all these long range sight lines on Overpass without some utility. When you're taking long, you have to be, again, cautious of, do they have an op? If they have an op, then typically you want to flash really deep long. And these flashes you want to throw on the right side of this wall. The reason for that is because the primary angle you want to blind is this, right? If they're up here, they won't get blinded by any flashes that pop this direction. They're gonna get like partially blinded, right? However, if the CTs are on an eco SMGs, right, you know they don't have a good buy, then you can swing long. I just like to left and right click a flash like that, bounce it against there, or you can left and right click a flash over there and swing with that, right? Any flash that pops behind you but in front of the CT for these close range angles is going to be really good. Now, we talked about this angle from a CT perspective, where if you peek this, the CT has a huge shadow advantage. So from the T side perspective, instead of slow walk peeking this, where you give a CT a huge advantage, you can either jiggle it with your shadow and try to bait them into shooting before you actually peek them, or just wide swing them, right? Peek them with speed. So make sure that your shadow is invisible, right? You can be about here and then wide swing them. With angles like this too, just flashing to your right is always really good, even if it's the most reactable flash of all time. If I bounce a flash here and then swing with this, the CT is either forced into staring at it or turning, and that's an easy way to counter this really strong shadow advantage angle. Once you're ready to execute a sight, right, you're gonna execute from divider. There's a really easy util set that I need to show you. You're just gonna line up the dividers. Down here, you see this dot, just aim in between them and left click jump throw. That's your dumpster smoke. Then you're gonna aim at this horizontal line that meets the stone and just left click jump throw. Bang, you're gonna have dumpster smoked, you have truck mollied, and you can follow these up with two flashes. One could be right here, and the second one can be right here. This first one will blind your teammates if they're peeking here, but the second one won't. You want to throw that first one first because presumably your teammates aren't scaled up enough to be blinded by it, and then the second one pops back here and it won't blind your teammates. Another area that's always good to just throw flashbangs when you're executing A is just above bathroom in this area, right? So if you want to throw them fully safe, you can just do a little shift walk throw right here, or if you're already scaled up this way, you can just left click them above bathroom. Right, throw two of these, and then you guys are pushing, and the CTs, if they're peeking this, will get blinded by these flashbangs. One thing to keep in mind if you are executing A is that you don't want to give the CTs too much info. There are really long sight lines between divider and A site, and if you guys are just meandering or just sitting around here, you don't want to give them the info that you're about to exec A. So when you're scaling towards A, keep on this left side, right? Walk around divider, and then you can stay front bath, but you typically don't really want to duel these angles without an exec unless it's like late round, you're just contacting. If you're executing, just wait for the util to come in and then flood out with that util. This is especially true if you know the CTs have an Awper on A. This fight for me is just disadvantageous. This is a bad fight for me against an Awper. Instead of taking this fight, I'd much rather take a fight where jump up is smoked, truck is mollied, and this player on dice is blinded by flashbangs. One thing you can do, especially if you're opping, is hold for the jump spot. When CTs are anchoring A, they're going to be just jump spot simulator doing this, and if you're here divider holding this, this could be just an easy free kill for you. If you find yourself in long and you want to speed up towards A, right? Let's say you're long bath and then bang, you get a free kill right here, and you want to just take some space, apply some pressure, you can just run left click a smoke at this little thing right here, and this is going to smoke off this whole area. So then as you scale, all you really have to worry about is truck and this angle. Of course you have to worry about this too, but like if you just got to kill long, it's super unlikely somebody's tucked in that corner. From here too, you can molly jump up if you'd like. You can molly bank as you run up as well, just over this lantern right there, and then bang, bank is mollied. So that's kind of a, you know, not an amazing smoke, but an easy way to apply a lot of pressure and force rotates. Also, when you're pushing up long, this is a great place to just left and right click flashes above you and behind you like that, and then anybody on this kind of angle or anybody here on back dice will just have to eat this flash. So overall on middle, You have to be really cautious and really mindful of when they have an Awper, and you have to use your utility effectively to shut off sightlines because it's such an open space. Using your smokes, using your mollies, using your flashes, it's crucial on this map, okay? You can mechanically just diff people on the map, sure. It can be a really good aim map, right? Just run around and click on people, but against people of equal skill, really make use of your util and mid. Let's jump into the must-know T-side utility, and we have to start with a front bath smoke. The smoke is so important. From spawn, you can come in front of this left railing, aim at this little dot right here, and the left click jump through. This is going to perfectly smoke front bath right here, so shit. You know what? I might need a little help on this.
Hello?
What's up, CST Tactics?
How's it going, man?
Can you give me some help here, man?
Oh, I can definitely give you some help. Let's dive right in. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Jackson, but I go by CS2 Tactics Online, where I throw grenades for a living. Wilson was kind enough to invite me to cover the most important Overpass lineups, so for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to try my best to cover everything you need to know as fast as I possibly can. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with the smoke Wilson was trying to throw. So from this railing, you're going to aim just to the right of this dark mark and do a simple jump throw. Don't worry, it's not too precise, but this thing's going to land right here in the dead center of bathrooms. Now this smoke is starting to fall out of the meta, not only because it's a little bit lurky, but because of a certain set of utility that the CTs throw almost every single round. And yes, you guessed it, it's the molly for playground and the smoke for fountain. Paired up with a flashbang, and you have a very potent, aggressive opening on the CT side. So let's talk about how the pros are actually throwing this. So when you drop down here, running out of spawn, you're gonna find this pipe, and where it intersects with the roof of the building, you're gonna do a running left and right click jump through. This is, again, a very loose lineup. You don't have to put too much thought into it. As long as you're square onto that building, this thing's gonna have no gaps on either side, completely cutting off all of the T's. So right after you throw that smoke, you're gonna pull out a molly, and you're gonna aim right here between this point and this point on the wall. So right in the middle of this line, you're gonna do a run, jump through, and release the second you pass the second part of the divider. So all in one motion, it's gonna look something like this. Notice how this molly flies all the way up here, and it's gonna completely molly out this doorway here that enters into playground. And to add another layer onto this, after I throw the molly, I go alongside this pillar, find this little cross here in the wall, and do a left and right click jump through. That is gonna end up popping on the other side of the bush. It's not really gonna blind your teammates if they're up close here, and it's gonna roast anyone over here without too much reaction time. So here's what it looks like all together in one motion. I like to release the smoke before I get to the first bench, but that's just personal preference. Everything else, do exactly as I'm showing, and you're gonna have no problem roasting those T's. And of course, a lot of times the T's are just gonna be forced to respect that smoke. And if you're in that situation as a T, if you get stuck into this corner, you can go to the top right of this lighter brick on the column and do a simple jump through. And guess what? That's gonna bank off the wall here, and it's gonna be a perfect deep smoke for bathrooms. This thing is the opposite of a lurky smoke, and I would definitely recommend throwing this over the one out of spawn, since you can respond to whatever the CTs are throwing your way. Now, speaking of things the CTs are throwing your way, sometimes the pros will go for these insane double HEs here that land all the way into the T-spawn entrance and just decimate anyone in this area. Now, you can always try to condition them to not do that by throwing an HE in response that'll hopefully catch them mid-jump, but it's pretty risky. Now, if instead of throwing that nade, they've been getting frisky and party, you can aim in between the fountain, this column, up to the tree, and do a run throw to completely molly out that peak right there. This doesn't need a set lineup, you can just kind of wing this, but if you're struggling, that's a decent guideline to use. More importantly, after you've taken this control, if you have a molly, you can do a W jump throw at the bottom right of this electrical box. That is going to completely molly out the inside of divider and the backside, giving you extra map control, especially if you've already smoked off bathrooms. Now that brings us to the mid to late round, the closing utility once you've taken that initial bit of map control. Now let's get started with the most important smoke for an A hit. If you go into the middle of this bench and aim at this position here on the light and do a simple left click throw, that is the easiest way to completely smoke off dumpster. Notice how there are no gaps for any sort of cheeky peeks. Now, I'd actually recommend throwing this from divider, and I'll explain why here in just a moment. But first, let's talk about how to throw it. You're gonna find these two dark spots right here. In the middle of the two, you're gonna do a simple jump throw. That's gonna bank off the side of this trash can and smoke it off in the exact same way. Now that smoke's convenient because from the same exact position, you can aim towards the right of this pillar, down under this first line, and do a simple jump throw with a molly to completely burn out all this back region of truck here. As you can see, this is a pretty good spread. Sometimes it's somewhat inconsistent as to everything it's gonna catch, but for the most part, this is a very good molly to throw. Or hey, if you'd rather molly dice, you can go on the front side of this, aim at this dark spot on the far divider, and do a W jump throw with a Molotov. That's going to completely burn out this back side of dice and really obstruct any of those CT positions, and it may make them a little bit uncomfortable in the defense. But hey, no matter which of the two sets you're throwing, the God Flash stays the same. Make sure you can see that second divider for this, but you're gonna aim at the top right of this little square, and that is a perfect flash that's gonna blind all of A site while not blinding your teammates at all, so long as they're hugging this close right wall. And of course, we can't forget about the good old bank smoke. So from this position right here, you're gonna find this white mark along the divider, go to the right of it into this darker spot, and then do a simple jump throw. Notice how this particular smoke covers from the far right all the way to this left side of the bank truck. There aren't really any gaps they can exploit here, so it's a solid smoke to throw. Now, if you'd rather take your time with a much easier lineup, if you get stuck alongside this bench, you can do a left click jump throw at the bottom left of this chair, and that's gonna land in the exact same way. And hey, you can throw most of this from long if you go alongside this column and follow this darker line all the way to the far left. You're gonna do a simple jump throw, and that is gonna be another perfect dumpster smoke. And hey, after you throw the smoke, you can position your crosshair in between the leaf and this building, take a couple of walking steps before releasing a Molotov that's gonna land right here on truck, completely burning it out. One thing you can also do is just lob a flash over here to the left. It's not really gonna blind your teammates as they're moving out, and anyone that's playing up close like this is gonna get roasted. On A side, the mid to late round is going to consist of a lot of jump spotting from dice, and anytime you see someone, generally you're going to be deploying defensive utility, like a smoke here to cut them off, maybe a molly on this side, and you just play back behind it. A lot of common sense defensive utility. Whenever an execute comes in, if you spot someone up close, you're going to end up deploying that utility quickly. But one thing that I do enjoy doing, if I feel like someone's long and I'm playing back here towards bank, I'll go into this corner and do a right click at this electrical pole. That is gonna end up popping here and destroying anyone out on long without hardly any time to react whatsoever. They're not really gonna hear this thing if they're pretty far back. This is an excellent flash to throw, especially in the chaos of an execute. You're gonna catch a lot of people very off guard. All right, so now let's wrap all this up with some B site utility, starting with the opening phase of the round yet again. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about a B rush heaven smoke. If you go along the left side of this wall, you're gonna aim from the top right of this plank down to about here. You're gonna do a nice run jump through the second you cross the shadow, and that is gonna be a perfect tucked heaven smoke that's gonna have no gaps on either side. And after enough practice, you're probably gonna look like this while you're throwing this smoke. Notice how fast I lined that up. I'm still gonna be able to get out there to trade my teammates as a part of the rush. Now, NIP pulled off a crazy play here with a double mollied site, toxic and short, where it spread to completely cut off the monster side of the map. The first player is going to keep along to the left here, aiming at the bottom of this barrel, and then doing a run, jump throw, and release once the crosshair hits the top of it. For the short molly, Snappy's going to go into this corner, aim at this point of the shadow, and do a run, jump throw, and release. And just like that, the B side's kind of looking like an inferno. Now, this is a smoke that I learned from Wilson. If you go alongside this barrel, up from this line to the top of the fence, and do a simple left click throw, that's gonna end up landing right here in the dead center of sight. Or if you go into the front of the barrel and crouch, you can throw that exact same lineup, and that's gonna end up being a perfect left side smoke that's really good for a fast and aggressive pop through construction. Now from that same exact position, you can aim to the far bottom right of the monster tunnel and do a simple jump throw for a flash that's gonna land on the very top of it, being fairly team safe while blinding all of these close positions. Now for a deeper flash, you're just gonna go down to the bottom of the stairs and aim anywhere alongside this shadow, and that's gonna end up full blinding anyone on the left side here that wouldn't have been blinded by that first flash. Or hey, from that same spot, if you wanna blind the short players, you can do a simple left click throw at the top of this line, and that is going to absolutely cook anyone that is on the outside right here. Now moving to CT opening utility, if you go into the dumpster corner and do a simple jump throw at this dangly bit of the wire, that is gonna end up popping down here and completely smoking off all of the monster. Now, if you're a B player, you should know this molly. The second you get outside the store, once you can see this bolt, you're gonna do a left and right click release while running. So just like that. It's gonna end up landing right here into the short pipe, and it's gonna completely molly that off at the beginning of the round. And hey, this also works with a smoke grenade if you wanna get aggressive that way. Now, one thing that's always a good idea is throwing an HE right here to pair up with that Molotov. It's gonna explode that squeaky door, and it's gonna allow you to jump spot here from sandbags and spot to see if anyone is inside of connector and moving their way up. Now, moving to the mid round, a lot of times you'll see pros smoking heaven like this, and then pairing up a nice little molly to end up completely burning out toxic. As you can see, that is going to completely eviscerate both of these players. Now, the heaven smoke is definitely the hardest part of this set. You're going to go right here into this position. You're going to aim up into the middle of these two posts, up to the top of this green tarp, and you're going to do a run jump throw at the last possible second. Now, this is a pretty difficult lineup to hit, so I would recommend practicing it a good bit offline before trying it out in game. But as you can see, it lands up here and it's a nice tucked heaven smoke. Now, the molly's actually pretty easy. After you throw the smoke, you're just going to back up, look at this guy's teeth, and just do a running jump throw. It's going to hit pretty much every single time and completely molly out toxic while you have all of heaven smoked off. Now, when it comes to heaven smokes, I much prefer throwing them from right here, where I'm just going to aim up at this little crane on the billboard and do a simple left click throw. That's going to completely smoke it off way easier. And hey, from the same spot, you can aim down from this part of the railing and do a simple jump throw. That flash is going to land on the right side of this metal wall, and it's not going to blind your teammates at all as they're peeking out, while still blinding a lot of the high danger positions. And hey, if you don't like the toxic player from that same exact position, you can just go down from this railing and do a simple jump throw to completely burn that entire area down and throw an HE at this dark mark to nuke anyone that's standing up close here towards the ramp. Now, you can throw a very similar set from down here alongside this plank by aiming in this position and doing a jump throw for another nice heaven smoke. And hey, after you throw that heaven smoke, you can aim right here at this top bolt on the wall and do a W jump throw to completely blind anyone on the backside of this pillar, especially players on ramp. Or hey, from that same exact position, you can do a simple left click throw at the bottom right of this square for yet another team safe flash that's not going to blind ramp, but all these other high danger positions on site. You can pair those two up together to really blind a lot of players on the V site. Now on CT, you can hit him with the Uno reverse card from this position by aiming out to the right of this crane and doing a simple left click throw. It's going to land on the backside of this wooden plank. It's not going to blind your teammates, but it's going to completely cook all of these guys out here towards water. So if you catch them setting up and execute, well, you've got a pretty easy peek for your teammates to take. And finally, before I hand it back over to Wilson, if you do a left and right click throw at this far bolt, that is going to full blind anyone down inside a monster while not having any time to react whatsoever, with your teammates not getting blinded because hopefully they're up in front of it.
Goober, thanks for watching the video, and shout out CS2 Tactics, man. He is awesome. Please go to his channel, give him a subscribe. He makes amazing content. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to me as well. If you liked it, drop a like on the video as well. Shout out to my YouTube channel members. They're scrolling along here somewhere on the screen. They help me and support me in being a goober on the internet. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Good luck and have fun in all of your future games. Peace out.